A black tar-like goo oozing from a research ship sounds like science fiction, but this story is real. What started as a routine repair on the Great Lakes became one of the strangest microbial discoveries in recent years. The vessel was the RV Blue Heron, a research ship operated by the University of Minnesota Duluth's Large Lakes Observatory. In 2024, the Blue Heron had been studying harmful algal blooms in Lake Erie before mechanical trouble sent it to a shipyard in Cleveland. The problem was a noisy propeller shaft, the kind of maintenance issue nobody expects to lead to a biological mystery. During that inspection, crew members noticed a thick black substance oozing from near the rudder shaft housing. At first, the obvious fear was pollution. Oil, fuel, or some leaking industrial chemical. But the goo did not behave like oil. It failed a simple test that petroleum usually passes. It did not spread a rainbow sheen across the water. Then came an even stranger clue. The material would not ignite when tested with a blowtorch. That made the sample harder to explain, because the rudder housing on this ship is lubricated only by circulating lake water. In other words, this was not a place where anyone expected to find a tar-like biological habitat. Instead of throwing the goo away, Marine Superintendent Doug Ricketts carried a cup of it back to researchers at UMD. That decision turned a maintenance oddity into a real scientific investigation. The sample reached biologist Cody Sheik and his team, who study microbial life in extreme environments. Their first surprise was not that the goo looked strange, but that it contained recoverable DNA at all. The team expected the material might be chemically dead, heavily contaminated, or too degraded to tell them anything useful. Instead, the DNA was intact enough to sequence. Once the sequencing work began, the story became even more unusual. Researchers compared the recovered genetic material with global DNA databases to see what known organisms it matched. They reconstructed about 20 genomes from the goo, which meant the substance was not a single organism, but a complex microbial community. Some of those genomes resembled microbes already known from extreme carbon-rich places, such as tar pits and oil wells. But two of the genetic signatures refused to fit cleanly anywhere on the known tree of life. One of the unknown lineages appears to belong to archaea, the domain of life famous for thriving in harsh and unusual environments. Archaea are single-celled organisms, but they are not bacteria, and they are not plants or animals either. They form their own major branch of life, and are famous for surviving in hot springs, salt flats, and oxygen-poor environments. In the ship goo, the archaeal lineage looked so different that researchers believe it may represent an entirely new order. The second mystery sequence appears bacterial, and it may even belong to a new phylum. If that finding holds up, the goo was hiding not just a new species, but deep evolutionary novelty. So how could a ship's rudder shaft become home to microbes unknown to science? The answer may lie in the strange microenvironment inside the housing. Researchers describe that space as semi-warm, stable, and low in oxygen. Those conditions are perfect for anaerobic microbes, organisms that live without oxygen. Add grease, metal surfaces, and a steady trickle of lake water, and you get a tiny ecosystem sealed inside machinery. That environment may have allowed unusual organisms to settle in, adapt, and remain hidden for years. The idea is striking because most people imagine new life is found in remote jungles or at the bottom of the ocean. ShipGoo001 suggests that some undiscovered biology may be hiding in built environments we rarely sample. Pipes, vents, basements, and ship compartments can create isolated habitats with chemistry very different from the outside world. That makes the discovery scientifically exciting far beyond one ship in one shipyard. It points to a bigger idea. We still have blind spots on Earth,
even inside machines built and used by humans.
The temporary nickname ShipGoo001 captures both the mystery and the playful curiosity behind the project. It is not the official scientific name, just the working label researchers used while figuring out what they had found. As of the latest reports, the organisms still await formal publication and official naming in a peer-reviewed journal. The team has also said they plan to release the genome data publicly so other scientists can study it. That matters because extraordinary claims become stronger when the wider scientific community can test them. The Blue Heron itself makes the story even more fitting because it is the only academic research vessel dedicated to the U.S. Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are among the most studied freshwater systems on Earth, yet this surprise still emerged from one of the tools used to study them. That irony is part of what makes the discovery so memorable. A ship built to investigate the lake ended up carrying its own unexplored ecosystem. Researchers are still working out what these microbes eat, how they survive, and whether the black goo is a true biofilm or a mix of living cells and trapped residue. Those questions matter because metabolism tells scientists whether these organisms are feeding on grease, dissolved chemicals, or something else entirely. For now, the evidence strongly supports a genuine living community, not just a smear of contamination. The DNA was not too damaged, the biomass was not too low, and multiple genomes could be reconstructed from the sample. That combination is exactly why this discovery moved from curiosity to credible science. It also shows the value of scientific curiosity in everyday work. If the crew had ignored the goo as grime, nobody would be talking about hidden archaea inside ship machinery. Instead, 1 cup of black sludge may have revealed organisms never before described by science. The story feels almost cinematic because the phrase living black goo usually belongs in horror movies, not freshwater research. Yet the real lesson is not fear, but humility. Life is often more inventive than our maps, our categories, or our expectations. Even in a steel cavity beneath a Great Lakes research vessel, evolution may be writing chapters we have never read. So the next time a strange residue appears during a repair, it might be more than dirt. It might be a clue that Earth still holds unseen life in places we hardly ever bother to look. And if ShipGoo001 eventually receives an official scientific name, this bizarre discovery will have started with a routine repair and a cup of black goo. Sometimes the biggest discoveries do not come from chasing the unknown. They come from noticing it when it leaks out right in front of you.